Hey everybody, welcome to my living room. I hope you feel as if you're sitting here with me in front of my wood stove fire, at least as much as you can through the screen of your gadget there. I just wanted to drop in, give you another video with this, indoor format, which is rare for me, to share a story with you that I shared with my son today, because many of you commented in a couple of the recent videos I've made that you kind of were getting some, you got something out of the real life stories I was telling. So this afternoon, my wife and our son, Daniel, he was in the back seat of the truck, went to the grocery store to get some last minute items for our Thanksgiving meal tomorrow. This particular grocery store is at the end of a big long building. It's like a plaza. And I ended up going around the back of the building because I knew a shortcut from somewhere else I'd been. And the reason I knew that shortcut is it instinctively stuck out in my mind because I knew there was an employee parking lot back there, and I knew that because I used to park in it, not for the grocery store, but at the end of the plaza, there used to be a little pizza shop, mostly takeout, and we had some delivery guys, but I made pizza there. So we go back through there, and I just was thinking out loud, and I said, wow, I haven't been back here in over 25 years. I live in the area where I live. I came here 25 years ago. Now I've been gone for many years. Army, when I was in the Army, I served in Iraq, and then I moved to the Philippines for 6 years. Brought my family here, my wife and our son, who was born there, came back in 2018. But I originally arrived here about 25 years ago. So my son says, wow, I never knew you used to work there. I said, I used to work in a few places around here you probably didn't know about. So I explained the situation to him, why I was working there. And that situation is this. I had a family before I had my current family. I had a wife and 3 children. And at that point in my life, I was married young. I graduated from college first. And I was involved with a woman that already had a child from a previous relationship. Didn't bother me. Loved that kid as much as the other 2 when he came into my life. And we were expecting pretty early. So by the time I was in my mid to late 20s, I had 3 children, a lot of responsibilities. My wife at the time had a lot of responsibilities. So professionally, I was actually a stockbroker back in those days. However, that was within my first year, and I was not making much money at all. I would eventually go on to do okay in that line of work. I succeeded as far as that line of work goes, but you can't compare what success is numbers wise as something like that, say, to being a content creator. It's day and night different. And of course, social media didn't exist back then, so this wasn't an option. So I was back in the old school traditional economy because so was everybody else. It was 1999. The new economy wasn't here yet. So we needed money. I didn't come from a family that had money. My ex-wife didn't come from a family that had money, and we needed it. So I would work all day as a stockbroker. 3 evenings a week, I would work in that pizza shop, making pizza in the back. And then on weekends, believe it or not, and my first wife, she was at home with 2 kids and 1 coming. She was busy. There was, at the time, this was what was in our best interest as we saw it. So on the weekends, I would actually wait tables at one of the local Applebee's. So I told my son that. He knows about my first family. Of course he knows that. We keep no secrets in our family. And I was telling him this, and I remembered something that happened once at Applebee's when I was a waiter. I was probably 26 years old. I was waiting on a table, and there were 4 people. It was 2 men, 2 women. They would have been in their mid-40s. So they were boomers, baby boomers. Those folks would be like 70 now, 70-ish. They seemed to be, well, they were friendly, nice. They asked me, they said, Kevin, are you a graduate student at the university? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I graduated from college a couple of years ago. And then one of them said, well, then why are you waiting tables here at Applebee's? And I said, oh, well, this isn't like my full-time gig. I said, I'm actually a stockbroker. Monday through Friday. I come here on the weekends to make tips because I would make $150 a night at Applebee's on average. So I could go in there and work 2 nights on the weekends, and I was bringing in $300 in cash that my family desperately needed to buy groceries at the time. So one of the people there at the table, when I said this, said, well, you must not be a very good stockbroker if you have to wait tables at Applebee's on the weekends. And all 4 of them just started laughing so loud. I mean, it was just the funniest thing you'd ever heard. And my 26-year-old heart was breaking. And I used to jade. In case you don't know what jading means, Jade, that stands for justify, argue, defend, or explain. I don't do those things anymore. I used to because I was young, I was naive. I hadn't had the life's experiences that I have had since that point that have, I don't know anybody any explanations. I live the way I live. My life is my life, and I don't have to explain it to anyone, okay? But at the time, I wasn't there yet. So I told him my situation. I said, well, I've been doing that brokerage thing for less than a year, and I'm not, quite where I would like to be yet. And I have a wife and 2 kids, and my wife's actually pregnant, and we need the money. And they stopped laughing, and the guy, he did apologize. He said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know anything about your situation. I shouldn't have said that. So kudos to that guy, I said, oh, it's no big deal. It doesn't bother me. Then I went in the kitchen, and I might have even cried. I don't know, because it did bother me. But I told my son, I said, here was what did I do? What was my physical reaction to that? Well, I pulled myself back together, and I went back out there, and I kept waiting tables. And let's say if that had been on a Saturday, I went back in on Sunday, and I waited tables again. And I went back the next weekend, and I waited tables again. And I did that however long I needed until I finally got traction in my brokerage business. And so I didn't need to wait tables on weekends anymore or make pizzas at the pizza shop. And my son says to me, he goes, wow, look at you now, Dad. He says, you don't even have to work anymore, and you're only 50. And I thought, wow, I never realized that. Not that I don't have to work anymore and I'm only 50, but because I was always willing to do whatever needed to be done for me to be able to provide, I did. I don't care if that was working literally at that point in my life, 3 jobs. I didn't care if it was waiting tables on weekends and putting up with snobs. Making pizza, hoping I get enough sleep to get up in time the next day to be, which I'm always early wherever I go. This was a good fit. That's nothing I earned in the army or learned in the army. I already had that, and so when I went here, I was prepared. So the thought through my mind then was, I wonder where those people are now, the people that laughed at me. Now, those particular people, I'd be willing to bet that hey, it was something that they thought was funny. And once they realized it wasn't so funny from where I stood, they apologized. So that's called humility. They might have even thought before they spoke a little longer the next time if they were in a current situation. So they might have, or a similar situation. They may have gotten something out of that too, and I hope they did. But let's say, just fictitiously, let's say I never told them the rest of my story, and they never knew that. They would have just continued laughing. Or let's say it was different people, and they, honest to God, had that attitude that, oh, wow, if you're in here, I wasn't in there doing what I was doing because I was not a good stockbroker. I was doing what I was doing because I had responsibilities I needed to meet, and the only way I knew of to meet them was by working and getting paid. And I never viewed it as if any job out there was beneath me, because the end result would be my family would be fed and our bills would be paid. And so I thought of folks I've met throughout the years, and we've all met them too, who think they're maybe too good for certain lines of work. They wouldn't get caught dead digging a ditch. They'd be afraid maybe somebody that knew them might drive by and see them digging a ditch, and oh my goodness, what would they think? They might not, even go on social media and make questionably silly content from time to time because OMG, what might people who see that think? Okay, so they would handle their if they had a need, they would handle it differently. Maybe they would have somebody they could go to. Maybe they would just borrow money and go in debt. Maybe they'd just put it on credit cards. And I don't do that, and that's why at 50 I don't have to work anymore. It's not that I'm like uber wealthy. I'm not. It's a mix of assets that have slowly but surely accumulated over the years, and multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of passive income. Just the thing I got most out of having been a stockbroker was not just learning about money and how it works, but by sitting down with people who knew how to handle it. Most of my clients were World War II generation. They were pretty thrifty. So just hearing them talk, when they would tell me their stories about how they got to where they were, that's where the learning was. I learned from that, not so much about from the how to tell a stock's PE, what its beta coefficient is, EBITDA, earnings before income deduction, all this stuff. That's nothing. I learned that if I wanted to be here now at 50, sitting in front of the fire, instead of making pizza at the pizza shop or waiting tables at Applebee's or worrying about what big client I've got to meet with tomorrow at the brokerage firm, thrift, responsibility, the shunning of all consumerism or materialism, unnecessary consumerism, materialism. It's just like millionaire next door type thing. But when I think in my mind of the people who were always too good to go out and do whatever needed to be done, to be responsible, to meet their responsibilities, and to provide for themselves and others that they might have to provide for, and who didn't do those things because they felt as if they were too good for those things, they're still working. Seriously, in my mind, I made a mental list of people who, like when I was doing that, I would have people tell me, oh my God, dude, I wouldn't be working 3 jobs, or gosh, if I was a stockbroker during the day, there's no way in the world I'd be in there making pizza by night. That would have to be so humiliating. That would just be so embarrassing. I've had people mention, on my social media accounts, because we're on multiple platforms. Most of you follow me everywhere, and I don't even need to mention them. I've had people say, well, there's no way I would make videos like that because I have a professional reputation, and I just wouldn't allow others to think what they might think if they saw that. Those people are still working. I'm glad you have a professional reputation, because you're going to need it for the long haul, probably until the end. And that's it. I mean, that's the story. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you liked it. But none of us are too good to do the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves and those that we love. I've always felt that way, and thinking that way is paid off. So I hope that helps you. And FYI, have a wonderful Thanksgiving.